Hello, my dear students. It's Dr.Yogesh Kumar Tiwari. Today we are going to discuss about the most lovable poem written by John Donne, entitled "Sweetest, Love I Do Not Go." As the title of the poem makes it clear that it's love poetry, and I hope you shall all enjoy it. We have discussed earlier that John Donne himself fell in love with Anne More, and he eloped with her. He got married, and he tolerated imprisonment also for that. So he had his own experience as far as the love is concerned. Although many great masters have written about this purest feeling in their own ways, because love has been a perennial theme in most of the languages, and many great writers were attracted by it. So I wish to throw light on the classification of the love poetry, first of all. I hope, just for the sake of your knowledge. First one is Petrarchan love poetry, I would say. It's a kind of poetry which was immortalized by Petrarch. Petrarchan tradition found the love poetry the most purified form, just like worshipping the God. Writing poetry for them was just like worshipping God. Petrarch had his Laura, Spenser had his Rosalind, then Sidney had his Stella, then Shakespeare had his Dark Lady. So they all raised the label or the status of their beloved to the level of goddess. In their writing, we come across as if they were worshipping their beloveds. And interestingly, John Donne was the person who revolted against it. I'm going to quote Professor J. Grierson, the poet who challenged and broke the supremacy of the Petrarchan tradition was John Donne. I unquote. So it can safely be asserted that John Donne initiated or started a new era in the writing of love poems. So there was an actual manifestation of earthly love in Donne's poetry. In most of the occasions, I have experienced myself that there was a sense of vulgarity also in Donne's writing as far as the love is concerned, because he directly calls women as an object to be enjoyed upon. But later, in later days, he just shifted his mind towards the purity of this particular feeling, and on the contrary, I would say Donne is all time conscious of that the lover are human. They are not object to be worshipped upon. Why? Because they must die at the end. They cannot be compared with the goddess, because goddesses are immortal, and John Donne brought the level of his beloved to the human being. And the third type is platonic love. So it was not just for the sake of body and the carnal desire or the sensuousness that he dealt with the idea of women. No. His mind shifted, and he raised the level of his writing, his feeling of love, to the Platonic thinking. This poem was composed in the year 1611. When he reached Europe with some of the friends. And as you know, he was very much fond of going on prolonged expeditions. because he wanted to establish this fact before his wife that going on a prolonged trips or just creating this kind of prolonged absence would make her very strong from within. As he knew it quite well that all must die one day or another. So she loved him a lot. He was of the opinion that the actual separation for herself would be very, very painful. So he himself created a prolonged gap in between by going on prolonged expeditions so that she could be accustomed and she could be very bold when the truth comes before her. This particular love song is very, very notable for its freshness. Now, recitation. Very, very important. Why? Because the lines are to be asked in the examination. In your reference to context question, unit number 1, you are supposed that you must recognize the lines. Since these lines belong to the feeling of love, you can easily memorize them. So, stranger-wise, I would like to say something about it, but just listen to the recitation. Sweetest love, I do not go for weariness of thee, nor in hope the world can show a fitter love for me. But since that I must die at last, it is best to use myself in jest, thus by feigned death to die. So they are just trying to experience a very typical kind of mock imitation, and it was put forth by John Donne himself. He is of the opinion that he is not living just for the sake of finding a newer one, a more beautiful than herself. No. He again and again says to her that he really loves her a lot. They cannot be separated. He is just going away for the sake of jest. It's a kind of mock imitation of death. So the actual time comes, she should be bold enough to face the situation. Further, yesternight the sun went hence, and yet is here today. He hath no desire nor sense, nor half so short way. Then fear not me, but believe that I shall make speediest journeys, since I take more wings and esper than he. Very, very beautiful comparison he has presented here in the second stanza. He says, as the movement of the sun is going on and all the time, it rises in the east and sets in the west. And the cycle is going on. In the same way, I am going to a very, very short journey, and I shall immediately be back, because he is of the opinion that he is not able to live without his beloved. His journey would be speedier than that of sun. He will not be taking as much time as the time taken by sun just to fulfill or just to complete its cycle. In the third stanza, listen to it. Oh, how feeble is man's power, that if good fortune fall, cannot add another hour, nor a lost hour recall, but come bad chance, and we join to it our strength, and we teach it art and length, itself o'er us to advance. In this line, he speaks about the potency and power of death. And he is very much depressed by the thinking of man. He has been born here. He has been enjoying so many luxuries of life in this particular earth. But still, he is not satisfied. He has gathered so many things in his life. But the man is not able to aid to create an addition of good moments, extra moments in his life. Though the man has gathered plenty of fortune in his life, but he is not in a position to add an extra hour just for the sake of continuous enjoyment. Man has got his own limitation. And this limitation is so real that man cannot ignore it. So this particular stanza is very, very important. Just listen to it very carefully, because this may be asked, and it's very Platonic. Here John Donne had really raised the label of his beloved to the label of goddess, although he had revolted against it. Just listen to it. When thou sighest not wind, but sighest my soul away. That means when you are very much upset or sad that I'm going to die, you start sighing. And as you start sighing, it creates a great trouble for myself. When thou sighest not wind, but sighest my soul away. My soul start trembling. There is a palpitation in my soul, in the depth of my heart. Since we are closely united, since there is a typical kind of connection in between you and me. When thou weepest unkindly kind, my life's blood doth decay. When you start weeping, then there is some kind of deterioration or decrease in my blood. And as you know, that blood is very, very important for the sustainability of life. He further writes, that thou lovest me as thou sayest, if in thine my life thou west. They are so closely united. Once he starts weeping, the poet's heart starts palpitating. He starts shivering. Typical kind of sadness and dejection starts overpowering his whole existence. Why? Because they are closely associated and united. He further says, thou art the best of me. In my whole existence, your existence has been united and we have become one. Let not thy divining heart forethink me any ill. Just don't think ill of me that I am just going to leave you for the sake of finding any other beautiful woman. It can never be, because we are closely united. Any thought of a beautiful woman cannot distract myself. He is of the opinion. Further, destiny may take thy part and may thy fears fulfill, but think that we are not turned aside to sleep. They who one another keep, alive never parted be. It's a very, very beautiful metaphysical conceit used by John Donne. He says, for example, we are just lying down on the same bed, and all of a sudden, in our sleeps, if we turn aside, that does not mean that they have separated. they have just got disunited, because in that same sleep again they will be turning to each other, and thus they will be becoming united again and again. So please don't think ill of me. And accidentally, if they are disunited, since their souls are united in such a way that that particular temporary disunion will be changed into the purest union. So just to sum up, it can safely be asserted that it is one of the most lovable poems written by John Donne, since he had his own experience on love. So this song is characterized by clarity and lucidity in the style and diction, metaphysical conceits. As you know, he was the master of using metaphysical conceit. He has masterly made use of them in this particular song. It is entirely free from all kind of obscurity, my dear students. No use of bombastic words. Very simple, easily understandable words have been used, and the diction is very, very clear, very lucid. If you go through once, twice, thrice, then you will come to feel that it's a very, very simple language. The language which was used for writing a love poem by John Donne. Thank you very much.